Hey everybody, it's Bobby. Welcome. I love Ginger's going long. 10, 9, 8. um, Welcome to Behind the Cards. I am Bobby Fierro. This is my passion project. I do Behind the Cards because I've been fascinated my entire life with what brings people to their spiritual path, especially tarot. What started people on their path to being a tarot card reader, a spiritualist, a psychic? Um, it is fascinating to hear because one would assume we all come from the same place. We don't. We don't work the same. We don't talk the same. We don't read the cards the same. And I wanted to bring that to the world's attention. And today I am joined by Ange from Roots and Waves. Ange, hey gorgeous, how you doing?
Hey, Bobby, I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. I love the series and I'm so pumped to be here. So thank you.
I every time somebody says yes, that they'll come on my show for Behind the Cards, I'm like, yes!
Yeah,
So doing a little happy dance. And
absolutely.
let me give you a little background for my feelings with Ange. Let's start off with saying I lost one of the lenses out of my glasses yesterday, so I'm using cheaters. I can't see the screen that's all the way up here. So Ange is going to be translating today.
Yep.
The other thing I wanted everybody to know about Ange is when I first started my channel last year, um, no blue wench, Ginger. Okay. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna address that today, watch. But when I first started my channel, Ange was one of the first people to embrace me. She was one of the first people to send encouragement through the comments. She was one of the first subscribers I had when I think one of the first three it said. And
Mhm.
that she has just held a special place in my heart. Whenever I go into a show and I see her in the gallery with everybody, I'm like, I just get excited. Um, I've met such fascinating people, Ange, and you were one of the first, and you hold a special place in my heart. So I
Oh,
wanted you to be aware of that.
thank you. You're very special
Uh,
too, and I'm so glad you joined the community. You have a very distinct voice that is needed, and so I'm so glad that you're here. Yes.
Thank you. Let's take a look at some of the people. I can't really see, but Megas, Ginger,
Hmm.
Amanda, Tropical Empress of Spirits. Megas is new to me. Nice to meet you, my friend. Ginger Faye is here from Ginger Faye Tarot and Divine Musing. She's been on Behind the Cards also. I saw Hershey in here.
Hmm.
I can see the big bold letters as far as the writing is.
It's okay.
Let's see. Harley, what up?
Yep.
Yeah, and from there, I'm going to leave it to you. But for those who don't know, on Behind the Cards, what I do is I ask questions based on the major arcana, the Fool's Journey.
Mhm.
Um, we Anybody who reads cards knows that the major arcana is set up in a certain way, and it tells a story of your life. I've applied that in these interviews to find out a person's life story and their spiritual path. So, and before we even start, I want to say, can you give a quick explanation on why you chose the name Roots and Waves?
Hmm. Yeah, sure, of course. So originally, when I started my YouTube channel, it wasn't called Roots and Waves. It was called Tiny Trinkets and Tarot, and that's just simply because I use trinkets and charms in my readings. Like I have a big bowl of trinkets, and I just sort of wanted to put myself out there, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to play and join these collaborations and share cards. But then as the years went on, I just felt like a deeper calling. And instead of, hey, Gerald, hey, everybody joining us, I think I saw the more intuitive me, which is Elizabeth. she's new to our community, so I really want to encourage everybody to check her out as well. I'm always the cheerleader. I'm like, yes,
Yeah,
go.
you are. I love it.
um, so anyway, so I started to feel like a deeper calling of like, okay, so when I first put myself out there, I'm all about like decks. Like, let's look at all the decks, which is cool. Like, I'm never going to stop looking at decks. I mean, that's part of the reason we're here. But I just felt like, okay, I think there's something brewing in me that needs to be discussed, some deeper topics, psychology, mental health, let's talk about some grief, let's talk about some conversations that maybe people shy away from. Um, I'm also big into like medical field, for nursing. I'm not in the nursing field, but I studied nursing for many years. And so I love like the human body and how we can connect that with the tarot. And so anyway, I have all these ideas and still have a lot. And I'm like, I need a different name for my channel. I just wasn't feeling that anymore. So I was like, okay, what could I come up with? And Roots and Waves surfaced because I'm like, I need something that's going to like ground me, that's going to like really pull from that, and then also allow me to flow with whatever comes my way. And so roots meaning like it's so important to like root yourself deeply in life, however that means to you, because when the waves do come, they're not going to take you out, baby. You know what I mean? They're not going to take you out because you're so firmly planted. And some waves, like I always explain, wash over you and completely take you out like the tower. And there's other waves that just sort of carry you. You're just drifting along. And then also with the word wave, it's not just water, it's waves of frequency, it's vibrations, it's that sort of ethereal. And so I just wanted to encompass all of that and somehow, and yeah, and put it into a name, and then that would give me the ability to go deeper in whatever topic I chose. So yeah.
I will be honest with you. When I first heard the name, I got excited because I come from a salon background. Before I retired, I was a hairstylist and a nail tech, and I saw Roots and Waves, and I was like, yes, another
Yes.
beauty industry person. But uh, over time, you find out what it actually stands for, what it means, and I love that. Shenanigans has joined us. Gerald popped in.
Hey.
Sharon has popped through. Uh, so, what do you say we start with the major arcana here?
Yeah.
And I would encourage everybody, while Ange is giving her answers, please be aware that you can ask questions yourself.
Hmm.
Maruta is here. What's up, Maru?
Hey.
Um, you can ask questions from the gallery. So our first card, obviously, on our journey for the Fool is the Fool. All right, new beginnings, innocence, purity, adventure, and rebellion. I have so many questions for you. Um, how did your spiritual journey start? And did it start from a place of curiosity, or did it start from a place of rebellion?
Ooh, that is a good way to put it. And I would say some of both. And let me explain. So I was born and raised Catholic. Bum bum bum. And
I heard that in my head.
and there's no shade to any of our Catholics watching. I'm just saying,
Right.
I went to the Catholic school and had to go to church 6 days a week. Yes, that's right, 6 days a week. Saturday was the only day we didn't go to church. Um, and it was, I just didn't resonate with everything that they were shoving down my throat. And so I was that kid in Catholic school that was questioning everything. And they hate when you question things. And so oftentimes, starting in like grade 5, I was sent to the principal's office because I wasn't allowed to question anything, you know? And where did Bobby go? Bobby!
I'm here. I just gave you solo layout.
I was going to say, you're playing with that mouse
No,
again.
I am. And for those who haven't been watching the show, I got a new Bluetooth mouse that I've been practicing with because I kept kicking myself out of the show last night. But no, I've been practicing. Look, see, I'm here.
Okay, no worries. But anyways, so um, yes, back to the Catholic Church. So, I was expected to go to church and, listen to what they had to say. And I would say definitely, that is, obviously where my spirituality began because I was certainly believing in something higher than myself and all this stuff, but just something didn't seem right. Something was always like a little off. And so I would question things. Well, then I was reprimanded for questioning things. And then that got me a little confused like, well, why can't I question something if I don't understand? So anyway, um as the years went on, I, decided that it's okay to take pieces of what resonates with you and leave the rest. I didn't realize that was an option. So that's exactly what I did. I'm like, okay, I don't have to go to the church, literally walk through the door, sit in the church. I could just go out in nature and talk to my same spirit team that I did there, inside of the church. Okay, this makes sense. And so I just sort of like really was trying to find my way through it. I would say maybe starting at the age of like 12 or 13, you know, and that's a really confusing time in life to begin with. And so
Do you think that the age of puberty kicking in has something to do with your spiritual awakening?
yeah, I think so. I think so, and I think that's the time I really recognized like I can just be my own person, not who everyone else expects me to be. And that there's choices in life in terms of what you believe in, and it's okay if you don't believe what your family believes in, even though that was quite, that can be quite the shock to some family members. um
Yeah,
uh, but my family was always really supportive. They didn't really shun me for it. They were just like, oh, okay, well, you do you. um but yeah, so that was that. And I really was like resonating with some of the Buddhist way of life. And I was just starting to really branch out and just kind of get a feel for like where I really fit in all of this. And even still today, there's not one thing that I follow. I sort of pick and choose from a bunch of different things. And I would say that nature is my number one spiritual place that I hang out in. That is where I am at home. That's where I'm grounded. Like I'm an earth sign, so I'm a Virgo, so that's where I belong. And that's where I get my downloads from.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Hmm.
In witchcraft, we call what you just described as either being eclectic witchcraft, when you take pieces from here and there,
Hmm.
or chaos magic, when you use different systems and just combine them to create an outcome.
Hmm.
Uh, the Magician is our next card. The Magician deals with willpower, manifestation, creation, and building something, but I always go with communication when I see the Magician.
Hmm.
Very rarely do I apply the willpower aspect, um, because I'm a big Hermes follower. Everybody
Hmm.
knows that who watches it.
Yeah.
And Mercury rules the Magician card. Um, do You said everybody was for the most part supportive.
Hmm.
When you decided to ramp up your spirituality and to start to go public, how did you start relating that? How did you start getting that point across?
Um, I pretty much, I would say I pretty much kept it to myself for the longest time because I really couldn't find anybody else that lived around me or that I was related to or friends with that would maybe understand. And it was really, honestly, only when I found YouTube that I was able to find people that I could relate with, that specifically relate with, and um, I started my channel um 2021, but of course, like I was, coming out and creating my own thing way before then. But I would say up until that point, I never really had a community. I never really had people to share with. Um, there was bits and parts of my life because we actually traveled in a fifth wheel trailer. We sold our home here in
That's cool.
Canada and we bought a fifth wheel trailer and we traveled around North America. And in those travels, that was a very spiritual experience to begin with. And we did meet some people along the way who we really resonated with in terms of spirituality and free spirit and just living life. And so that was pretty cool. And then eventually, when we had children, we decided that we were gonna. Some people call it homeschooling. We call it road schooling because we were on the road, and so through that we met communities of people who were living the same life, and so there was, you know what I mean? Those little groups here and there, like the people who are traveling and owning RVs and homeschooling their kids and stuff. So throughout that, I found people, um, and there were people online at the time who I followed, but never engaged with like this. That would be, I would have been way too shy back then to do this. Um, so I would say, uh, yeah, it's been like a struggle in terms of being able to find real life in person,
Real
meetups
life
and
people.
yeah, yeah, to be able to actually resonate with. So finding like tarot tube specifically really allowed me to start to come out of my shell and really show who I really am. And yeah, and I think it's
Honestly,
mhm,
I started the channel because of I got brave, and during lockdown, I was watching a lot of tarot videos like the rest of us were.
yeah.
And one of the series that I was watching was Chris Butler
hmm
and his Healing Light Tarot series.
yeah,
And during lockdown, we didn't have anything else to do, so I just watched it over and over and over because he was explaining the cards in a way that I hadn't really thought about, and he was doing
mhm,
comparison with different decks, which I loved. And um, I didn't have anything else to do after lockdown, so I sent him a letter out of the cold. Just, hi, I'm Bobby. Nice to meet you. Um, I didn't really know what to do, but we struck up a friendship, and he is the one who started encouraging me with the
yeah,
channels. So being brave can change everything for a person. And
yeah.
I'm impressed that you just went out on that limb and went for it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of you too for doing that because like, when we look at someone like Chris Butler, I'm like, oh, he's like an author, he has like decks out there and
Right?
like, oh my gosh. And we sometimes we tend to place people on these pedestals, but once we reach out, we realize, oh, it's just Chris. Not just Chris. I
Yeah.
didn't mean it like that. I just mean like
It's
he's human
Chris.
like I, like, and he's very approachable. And
Oh
most
God,
people in
yeah.
the community are, right? Including the authors of decks out there. Uh and
That blew
actually
my mind. That
it's
really did blow my mind. Because I did put
it's
people
funny
on
that you bring that
pedestals.
up because I created a whole series at one time called Creating Connection on my channel, and I would reach out to anybody that is a creator. And in my mind, we're all creators. It's just you don't have to create decks, of course, you can create
Yeah,
whatever. And if you go back a ways on my channel, you can see that I've had deck creators. I've had even people in our community like Heather, she's an artist, and all different people. And it was
beautiful
just
artist.
really getting to know people behind their creations. It just kind of sparked that in my mind because we're talking about the magician, we're talking about you and Chris Butler. But yeah, it also again gave me the courage to reach out to people and just say like, hey, you want to come on my channel? And I know it's a new channel, but just trust me, it's okay, come on over.
Yeah,
So
it was his encouragement. He said, because I was telling him about the people I watched, and he suggested reaching out to Gerald Schwab.
yeah,
Um, and I was terrified, but I didn't want to say I'm scared,
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
said, yeah, yeah, I'll do that. Okay, yeah. And I ended up doing it, and because I did that, I've met you, Nancy, Ginger, Heather, just my whole tarot community tribe, and I value every person in it.
Mhm.
Let's go on to the next card. We have the High Priestess, which is a card that when I think of you is one of the cards that comes to mind, the High Priestess, because it's strong feminine energy. It
Mhm.
represents intuition, mystery, and the subconscious mind. I don't really have an actual question for this card for you. Um, I am going to ask you, what is the High Priestess to you?
Mhm. So first of all, this is one of the cards in the whole deck that I just absolutely resonate with. You're right. Like I believe I embody the High Priestess. I um, have been told that in the past life I was an actual High Priestess in Egypt. Whether people believe that or whether that's true, I don't know. But I'm just sharing
I
that that's
believe it.
told. Yeah. And I believe it too. And yeah, the high priestess card is, I just love it because it's so mysterious but so powerful. And she's sitting there with that book and you're like, what is in that book and what's behind that veil? And I always feel like I don't know, I just connect with it so deeply. And when I very first started watching YouTube, way back when YouTube was created, like
Right.
talking about like early 2000s, um, I actually was always watching and commenting under the name of Hermit and High Priestess. That's what I went by on here. And those are the two cards in the deck that I really resonate with. And so it's just always been that way with me. I've just always been so
Right.
intrigued by it. And even the other series I have on my channel called Beyond the Veil is kind of part of that, is part of that, of High
Oh,
Priest.
I didn't really put that together. It makes sense. Duh,
Beyond the
I'm
Veil. Yeah.
sorry.
I mean, it could be many, like the veil could just be like the veil, like, in terms of like, what's behind the curtain, or the veil in terms of the spirit world. I mean, you could take that into many things, but I always had the high priestess in mind
The
when I was watching.
veil was part of a vision that I had in the 90s that set me on my path. Um, I was a drug addict and homeless, and I had a vision, and I was sober at the time.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to go into it, but it set me on my path and has been very powerful. In the High Priestess card is a powerful card. You are a powerful woman. You have inspired a lot of people. Are you aware of that?
No, not really. Like I'm just always encouraging
Okay,
people to
watch
just
this.
share
You
their
guys
voice.
watching in chat, if you think Ange is an inspiring soul, say I. It's just
Oh
you
gosh.
really truly are.
Oh my gosh.
Um, I have nothing but respect for people who manage dual natures, is what I call us. We
Mhm.
live in liminal spaces. We have to live in the real world and have muggle jobs and do muggle shit, but we do it under the look at I,
Oh gosh.
I.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, your
Mm.
neutral eye. Um, People who have to live in dual spaces, I just admire them. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. I know that you have kids.
Hmm.
Now,
Yep, I've
this is
got
going
two
to blow
boys.
some people's mind. Tell their ages.
My boys are
Yeah.
16, and actually my other one will be 18 next month. 16 and 18.
What? Look at this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just can't. All right. I'm not. No. All right.
Oh.
I and take this from somebody who worked in the beauty industry for a very long time.
Yeah.
You have the kind of skin and hair that people would pay me a lot of money, in the hair especially, just to work with. It's
Oh,
gorgeous. Um,
thank you.
the When your intuition started rearing its head, how
Mhm.
did you identify that this was more than just a thought in the back of your head?
Yeah. So, I definitely would say, again, going back to the church days, when I was younger, when we were, even though I was told to pray to a certain person or spirit, I was always doing my own thing. That's the one thing about Anne. She always does her own thing. And, I'd always get these intuitive hits. Back then, I didn't know it was called an intuitive hit, but I was always getting these intuitive hits in terms of, um, to be brave and bold and, like, question things that you don't understand. And, I know that that was coming from somewhere, but I didn't know where. At the time, we're told, pray to Jesus. I thought, okay, maybe Jesus is talking to me. I don't
Uh,
know. And I mean, still to this day, like, I mean, I do appreciate, the spirit of Jesus and Mary and things like that. Do I specifically worship them? Well, no, but I definitely don't dismiss it from my spiritual team, put it that way, because they are some powerful energies for sure. But in terms of really learning to trust my intuition came from, and this is going to sound kind of weird to some people, but that's okay, is really when I started to branch out and I found Doreen Virtue. This is going quite a ways back, and I'm sure
Yeah,
many.
that's yeah,
But
that's
this was back in like 2003, 2004 is when I discovered her, and that's how my deck journey began. Is I was having some of her oracle decks and all of this stuff, and I was watching her and listening to her, and she would talk about, all of these things, angels and tapping into your intuition and all of this stuff. And I was like, what is she talking about? And I was like, wow, there's like another layer to this. There's another like realm. And so I was just intrigued, and there was like this presence to Doreen that really, despite now she's, decided to take a different journey, and that's completely fine. But I just, she was just a real inspiration to so many people. And I do thank her, for that, for being that person to sort of open me up to this. I actually got to meet her in person, which was
did
really
you?
cool. I did. It was, I'm trying to think, when was it? 2014. It's like 10 and a half years ago. And that would be the first time I ever got a tarot deck in my hands, because
Half years.
before then it was all oracle, like angel oracle cards. Um, but I got to meet her and Radley Valentine. Actually, he's a joy. Oh my gosh, I love him. Yeah, I got to meet both of them in person at a conference in Toronto, Ontario, here in Canada, back in 2014. It was cool. And actually, the first tarot deck that I ever owned, I got from that conference, and it was the Dorian Virtue one. And I even have like their signatures in there and everything else. So,
That's
um,
awesome.
it was through that her and her oracle cards, and then like, let's fast forward like 10 years later, I went to a conference. So I mean, that was a long span of time that I was sort of following her. And not just her, but that back then there really wasn't that many people out there doing this kind of thing back then, right? But I would say, like, the Hay House crew kind of thing, all of that, like Wayne Dyer and all of those kind of things. Thank you for sharing my links. And so yeah, I would say, what was the original question? Something about
How did you identify it? How did you make the connection that
how did I make
this
the
was
connection? Okay, okay, yeah.
truly? Because
So yeah, it was just it felt right. It felt like, yeah, like I need to go deeper into this. So when I was tapping into Doreen and all these people, these people that I really looked up to, and were inspiring to me, I recognized that there was something more to it. And so I just utilized these tools, these decks, um, watching people on YouTube, and just recognizing that, I could actually have my own way of going about it,
you
so.
do have your own way of going about it. I have only met in person one person that I used to work with who did trinket readings like you do. And I was amazed then, and I'm amazed every time I see it because I understand the process. Um, you make that intuitive leap. You let things
Hmm.
spark your intuition with the trinkets.
Hmm.
You understand how your intuition works. And I truly admire that because that is how you're substituting the trinkets for tarot cards, is what basically what you're doing, right?
um
At least to me, it looks like that.
yeah, it's a layered. So I guess going back to my childhood, I always had some sort of little trinkets around. I think most kids do, kind of little toys and that. But, even like with Barbies, like I was more interested in the accessories that came with the Barbie than the Barbie themselves. My parents were like, what is wrong with you? But it's because I was utilizing these little things in that way of creating these messages and these stories with these things, these little toys. And I didn't know it was divination, of course. I was just a child playing. But, as I got older, and then, like I said, with these cards, I started putting them together. So then I had oracle cards, tarot cards, and the trinkets. And now that's the only way
Hmm.
I'll read. I have to have all of those together. Um, it just is this detailed way of like you said, pulling in that information, pulling in that intuition. And I just get these intuitive hits from symbolism. I mean, symbolism is our universal way of communicating. It always has been. Look at the, drawings on the walls in the caves. I mean, you could take it back as far as you want to go. But when I
Yeah.
hold up a card, like with a picture on it, and I hold up like a trinket, even someone that doesn't speak my language can see that, and maybe form their own meaning or interpretation of what I'm trying to say. And so, yeah, definitely relying on intuition is huge when you're a reader in general, but especially when you add layers to it, because there is no white book to go by. It's
Yeah.
literally every reading's different, so.
Did I say Ghost Squad? Yeah, Chris is here. Ghost Squad
Oh,
Scotland Network. Hello,
hi.
Chris. How you doing? He's going to be coming on my channel also. If you guys would like to see a reader who just has fluidity in their sessions, watch this dude. I can sit there and watch him, and it's just gorgeous. It's like like you, Ange, with your trinkets. It just flows so easily, and I admire that because when I do my readings, you guys have seen me. I'm basically sitting there and listening half the time to what's coming to me.
Yes, of
But
course. Hmm.
I truly admire people who have developed their techniques. Now, the next card is the Empress. The Empress embodies fertility, beauty, and abundance. She's also the wife and mother. How has your spirituality played into dating and family, things like that? Being a mother.
Hmm. Yeah, Empress. Well, I'm a three life path, so Empress is also connected to me deeply in that way in terms of the number three. Um, I am just a natural caregiver. I'm a nurturer. Before I even had children, I was working in the medical field. I've been in the medical field my whole life. And so that just comes to me naturally. I want to care for people. I want to encourage people. Like, I want to hug everybody in the whole world and make everything better, even though it's not possible, but I try. And, one of my first jobs that I ever had in terms of the medical field was working in group homes with people who have traumatic brain injuries, and so um, it just sort of like pulls that nurture out of you, that empress energy. You just want to just be present in people's lives in a way that brings them comfort, and to let people know that they are not alone, that they're loved, and that despite whatever their challenges or abilities or disabilities are, that they are valued in this world. And so I just think that my energy in general is very empress like. It's very nurturing. And um, in terms of my spirituality and how this sort of interweaves with it, I mean, I think it goes hand in hand. I think it's just who I am, how I was born. The day I was born, there was a rainbow over the hospital. The minute I was born, actually, the nurses and doctors went right over to the window and they were like, "Wow, there's a rainbow over the hospital." So that was pretty cool. I actually made the newspaper as well. This huge rainbow showed up over the hospital the day I was born, and so I just feel like it's always been a part of me. Even with my own mother, like she was very young when she had me, or younger when she had me, and you know,
Younger.
younger. She was, I think, 17, 18. So younger, and uh she she didn't know like what to name me, what to call me. And so after I was born and she had me in her arms, she just said, like, "I know that you're an angel that's been sent here. I know that," because my mom at that time maybe wasn't living the best lifestyle, and so me coming into her world kind of forced her to change that lifestyle. And she's like, I know to call you Angela because you're a messenger of God. Like, you're here to really deliver some messages to a lot of different people, and you're gonna touch a lot of lives. And I have to plug in my phone so I don't lose you. Okay.
I know.
um,
I kicked myself out again. I don't know if you saw that.
it's okay.
I need to replace this stupid Bluetooth thing. It's got an extra button that I'm not used to. My old thingy doesn't have one, so when I rest my hand on it, it's like ah.
It's
Um,
okay. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
Angela, I can never remember if it's Angela or Angelea, is the daughter of Hermes, messenger also. So the naming is perfect for you.
Yep.
And has your kids, do they have they shown signs?
It's interesting. I definitely know like my husband is super into this and he's spiritual and that and he supports me. But my kids, they just think, like, mom, like, why do you get all these trinkets and these decks? Like, what are you doing? And the thing is though, they when they want to tap in, they absolutely are gifted, but they're teenage boys that are not interested in any of that right now. And so I just know though that when I have witnessed them in their lives, there has come times when they've had to like make decisions or things have happened, and I watch and I see, I'm like, okay, you knew what to do there, you knew what to say there. How did you know that was going to happen? Well, you just knew, right? And so they definitely are gifted. It's just that whether they utilize that gift in life, I don't know, because they're
Right.
boys. They're racing dirt bikes and things like that. So
I, I'm going to throw this out just because it's something that I have always thought in the back of my head. It's one of those thoughts that I try not to share because I don't like people to laugh at me or anything. Um,
Mhm,
you said they do and they have that ability when they apply it, when they reach for it.
mhm,
That's very telling because women I view as constant receptive, constantly aware, a natural connection to everything. Men don't have that same connection
mm,
automatically. We have connection, but we have to be active about it. We have to reach for it. Women,
mm.
it's a constant thing. And that's something I've always thought in my head, and I'm afraid to get other people's opinions because lately people have been shitting on my opinions online.
Oh,
Um, yeah.
no, I think that's
I'm
actually
not bitter though. Yeah.
no, that's sad that people are not open to your opinions. That's just shows how closed-minded they are. But no, Bobby, like that's actually accurate because if you actually think about in the way the whole masculine and feminine thing is, and the way that we're able to receive, yeah, there's something to what you're saying there for sure. I do believe that, and of course, in terms of maybe the atmosphere that you're in and you're brought up in, if you're allowed to, if you're able to,
Yeah.
if you're encouraged to reach for that, to tap into that. So yeah, I can completely see that. Yep.
I was lucky. I was taught to reach for it in my
Mhm.
family. The women, yes, it just comes to naturally. Man had to be, or me. I'm the only man who's tried in my family to connect that way. Uh, the next card up, we have the Emperor. The Emperor signifies authority, structure, and leadership. Uh, I have a question in my head, but I don't really know how to form it. The Are you very structured? Are you very emperor-like?
I mean, I'm a Virgo, so structure organization is my jam. Um, but not too rigid. I don't like that. Like one way and that's the only way. Like I don't like that at all. Um, I like to be fluid in terms of being able to change my plans if need be, or vice versa if
Well,
somebody else
Virgo's
needs
a
to change.
mutable sign. It's we will
Mhm.
change.
Yeah,
That's the point.
exactly. Um, so when I think of the emperor, I think of like um, yes, like leadership, of course. Like that's pretty much the first thing that comes to my mind, but more of like rigid. I just keep thinking like rigid and like rules and structure and more of that kind of energy. And I tend to be more of like, yes, I'm organized and structured, but and definitely I would consider myself a leader, but the rigidity of it, I don't always resonate with that. So I think the Emperor card kind of rubs me the wrong way sometimes, just because
Does
of
it
that.
really?
Yeah. So same with the Hierophant. Like there's just
Yeah. Okay. I
There's
see where you're
parts of
going with it.
yeah. And I don't know, that's just
Is
my problem to get over, but yeah.
speaking of the Hierophant,
Yeah.
that's our next card. The Hierophant represents tradition, spirituality, and teaching. Now, it sounds like you don't have the bitterness that a lot of people who come from a Christian background carry with them. I carried it with me for a long time. My mom sent us, yes, I was raised by witches, but my mom sent me to Christian school. Uh,
Mhm,
she wanted me to be able to understand the other side, not just be indoctrinated into her way of thinking,
mhm,
but also because I got kicked out of every high school in town. But that's not important right now. The Hierophant deals with um, tradition. That's a big thing.
mhm,
Let's look back at your bloodline. Was their abilities? I know you said that your parentage wasn't living the best life. That's just life. Um,
mhm.
People who have abilities, I've noticed, tend to try to self-medicate rather than understand it.
Oh yeah.
So, do you think that is something that may have happened in your family? As I know it sure as hell happened in mine.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So my yes, there's definitely abilities in my family. So I'm very strong German, German, Irish, Polish, but specifically German, and it goes back many generations, especially the women in my family, my mom's side specifically. Um, my mom and my grandmother just unfortunately passed this year in June. Very gifted, very actually my grandmother that just passed, she went by the name of Phoenix. They gave her that name in actually a Native American tribe. Um,
I
oh
have a
wow.
Phoenix tattooed on my chest.
What? That's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah,
Phoenix
they gave
energy,
her the
baby.
name Phoenix. And she was big into like Native American. She was very called to like Native American teachings and that, and so they actually took her on and gave her a name and embraced her. And anyway, she was very, very tuned in and very spiritual, very intuitive. My mom, my mom absolutely has these gifts, but she is just so she's I don't know if she'll ever fully embrace it because she's just too caught up in everyday life. And I think she's scared of it, to be honest with you. Because even when I show like a pack of like cards, she's like, oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I'm like, well,
Yeah,
mom, it doesn't have to be like predicting your future, like, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily just that. It's self empowerment, and it's your ability to choose what comes next and all of this. Anyway, so to answer your question, yes, there's definitely very strong powers there in my family. um a lot of these people did practice, in terms of the Catholic Church and that, but it was interesting. They did, but then there was always like an aspect to it, like my grandmother who was like, "Yes, but I like this tribe over here, and I want to try this." And she collected like tons of crystals, and she was eclectic, absolutely, in her
I
way.
love that. I
Yeah.
love the people who just feel it and lean into it, even if they
Mhm.
don't understand it.
Yep.
Uh, that's awesome. Now, I want to say this before we go on to our next card, which is the love vase. Um, I love to say it like that, the love vase. The fact that a lot of psychics and tarot card readers have come from a Christian background.
Mhm.
We all know that, but it does work the other way. There's a lot of people in Christianity that come from a tarot background, psychic background. The
Mhm.
thing that bothers me about them, and I'll say this now because I don't really bitch about this, is I see on YouTube a lot of former psychics, former tarot card readers, former witches talking about how they faked everything. And I'm like, well, then you weren't a witch or psychic, you were a con man.
Yes.
There's there's a difference here. Don't lump yourself in with our community, Bubba. It doesn't work
Mhm.
that way.
That's
All
right.
right. So now we are on to our next card, the Lavas. Don't know why. It's from Will and Grace. The Lavas. Um, the lover symbolizes love, relationships, and choices. What's the toughest choice you've had to make in your life?
Hmm. Yeah. So the toughest choice I would say recently within the last several years was my choice to walk away. I'm going to try not to cry. To walk away from the nursing profession, to walk away from it. Yeah. It was definitely it was definitely a relationship that I really wanted to pursue in terms of my deep connection with medicine and with the body and with people because I love people. And I had to walk away. And it was honestly sitting here today, I'm like choking up talking about it because I wasn't allowed to have the choice of whether or not to vaccinate. And
Hmm.
I wasn't gonna allow someone to tell me what to do. Like I told you at the beginning of the show, nobody tells me what to do. I'm gonna do my own thing. And I'm real big on um, people making informed decisions and people having autonomy. That's very important to me. It's very important to me in my practice of because I do readings for people. It's very important to me, when I did work in the medical field of like giving people that and the fact that I wasn't allowed to make that choice for myself, and that's why I had to walk away. And so, I just had one more year of university to get my bachelor's of science in nursing, and they took it from me. Yeah, and so, yeah, yeah, it was a lesson that I'm still unpacking. And I trust me, I realize now that it was the best thing for me because the medical field and nursing field is not what it used to be.
No.
It's very
We
political and
all make
so,
those tough choices that just change our lives forever.
yeah.
Lovers is ruled by Gemini. Gemini energy gets in your head, and it's those. This is what it is. So
Yeah.
the lover's choice can have fallout for us. I
Mhm,
made the choice to completely walk away from the beauty industry after almost 2 decades,
mhm.
and that's because I had an operation for brain surgery and it left me with tremors. So I was forced to leave. I didn't have the choice, but I could
Yeah.
have stayed in management or things like that. But it was painful to be around. So I
Yeah.
just left completely. I didn't want anything to do with it. I let my license lapse. Um, and I was freaking awesome too. The Chariot card
Mm.
represents determination, control, and willpower. It's also associated with the sign of Cancer. So now we're going to start getting into deeper questions.
Yeah.
We are into the mental realm of the major arcana after this card. So I'm just warning you.
Yeah.
The the Chariot card is still in the physical realm. It deals with control. All right. Do you have trouble with the control aspect? I know you were saying you don't like to be told what to do.
Mhm.
Would you could define yourself as a controlling person, or how would you describe yourself?
Yeah, no, definitely the opposite of controlling. No, no. I nope, I'm not controlling and I don't want people to control me. No, definitely not. Determined, yes. Controlling, no. So, no, I don't have that sort of energy to me to be controlling. No, just the
Where do you
opposite.
get your ideas? I meant to ask you this before, but where do you get your ideas for your shows? For you have different types of broadcasts. Where do you come up with the ideas for these? Where do you get your
Honestly,
inspiration?
yeah, most of these things that I come up with, like, well, Rain and I work together on Behind the Veil, so we collectively come up with things. But most things that we're pulling from for that series is real life things that are happening to us, and we just put it into a show. And that's the same for everything else that I have delivered on my channel. It's like whatever's happening around me or whatever happens to come to me. I've had publishers reach out to me wanting to ask me if I want to review a deck, and I just sort of flow with it. But
That's awesome.
yeah, so for topics for my channel, and I have a whole stack. I don't have it next to me, unfortunately, but a whole stack of post-it notes with these thoughts and ideas that come to me for shows. So I'm definitely going to be coming up with a lot more content, but a lot of it is just intuitive hits or real life experiences because I feel like we can learn so much from one another if we're just kind of a little bit more vulnerable, if people are comfortable doing that. And that's definitely something that I'm stepping more into, is being more vulnerable. Like at one point I would never admit to you that I was not vaccinated because God forbid these people who believe
Well,
that you're
it's a touchy
yeah
subject.
you're
I am on the
yeah
other side of it. I respect your decision, but because I have no immune system,
mm-hmm,
um, making sure the people around me are vaccinated is a big thing with me. I do have HIV,
mm-hmm,
and I am hospitalized an awful lot,
mm-hmm,
so I can't be exposed to that at all. So
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
understand and respect where you're coming from, but I also understand where the other people's opinions on that are.
Yeah, a lot of it is
It's a
just
hobby.
people are not informed. They're not informed.
Yeah,
The whole idea behind COVID is not, it's not accurate. It's not true. What they're telling you is not true. But anyways, we won't.
yeah, that's this. We're talking about age.
Okay.
Do you have a nickname besides Ange?
And no, people just usually call
No.
me Ange, Angie, Angela. No, no, not really a nickname. Nope.
Bobby is my nickname. I actually went through a name change. I used to be Jerry Garcia. And yeah,
Really?
I
Oh,
used to be Jerry Garcia, and I had it changed when my brain surgery happened because I was just like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to be a different person. My dad offered, and I was like,
yeah.
let's just do it.
Oh,
And
wow. A name
so
change is powerful.
yeah, I took my own fate into my hands, just like you were saying. Um, I took control of the direction that my life was going, and I admire that. Anybody who takes control of their lives, uh, kudos.
Mm-hmm.
I will
Mm-hmm.
never say anything bad. Let's see what the next card. Oh yeah, strength. I forgot where we were. Um, Now we are into the mental realm
Mm-hmm.
of the major arcana. Strength card. What brings you your strength? My favorite aspect of the strength is that a lot of cards, especially like the Darkwood Tarot, the strength card is a woman cross-legged raising her kundalini energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Hebrew letter associated with this card is called Tet, which means serpent. It's that kundalini energy, it's that type of thing. Um, where do you get your strength from?
Yeah, well, I definitely in my spirituality, like I was saying earlier in the show, in nature. If you put me into a forest, like I'm there. Just let me wander
That's
around.
too general. That's too general. I want specifics here.
Yeah. So specifics as in how, like who
Like,
gives
what's
me
your
the strength?
favorite place to go? What's your favorite person to be around when you need strength? What's your refuge when you need to get away?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, that's
Um,
actually the hermit. But
yeah, no, it's all good. So, yeah, so I have a forest that's, well, I mean, I have a property that has trees on it, and I will
I was
go.
like, you have a forest? That's
I
so cool.
kind of, sort of. But there's a forest that's not too far from where I live. It's actually a conservation area, so I go there. That definitely just it provides me strength and guidance and refuge, like you said. But also in my own backyard, I have trees and things that I visit, and I also live by Lake Erie, and so bodies of water, specifically Great Lakes, have been very important to me in terms of my strength. There's something about it that when I go there, I just feel like like I can regain my power. Like I can let it out and it can flow back into me. So that's been very. I grew up on Lake Michigan, but now I live on Lake Erie, so. I've definitely have pulled from that. Birch trees specifically are very meaningful and powerful to me in terms of
Do
my
you,
strength.
I still have trouble saying it, but have you ever studied the OGHM?
Oh, the
Om,
Oghams. Hmm.
Om?
I know of them. I've not studied them though. They're very intriguing though. I've seen Ramon use them. So,
Yeah, I just started them. My high priestess Joey, who I do shows with on my channel, she's teaching them to me, and the
oh,
study of the trees is
that's so
something
cool.
that I'm just loving it. And for those who don't know, I am just in Canada. Uh,
Yeah.
we are total opposite extremes, my dear. I'm by Tombstone, which
Yes.
I'm in the desert, and you're up there in the beauty, the lush. Uh,
I have a story about I love Tombstone actually. When I lived in Arizona for a little bit. Actually,
yeah.
I lived in Phoenix and I hated Phoenix, but it was just too like a concrete jungle. But Arizona was just one of the most spiritual places I've ever been in my whole life, and it was Sedona and Tombstone that were really,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
I'm right
um,
by Tombstone. Yeah,
yes, yeah.
love it.
I Yeah, it was, I can't even explain how it was. Just you just have to be there to feel it for sure. But yeah, and in terms of strength as well, so other than nature, specifically into the forests and the lakes, my husband, I've been with the same man, it's going to be 21 years in December. and
Dang, dude.
and if
Way to
I didn't
go.
if I didn't bring him into this equation for strength, I don't like I'd be a fool, because he has been my rock, he has been my strength, and certainly my kids, right? Because, you know, when I've had to make some pretty big decisions in life, like, they have always been that thing that keeps me going. You know what I mean? Like I got to do it for my kids. I got to keep going, you know what I mean? And so
I
yeah, I've
never had that. And I'm one of those people who will get strength from their family, but not in the same way.
mhm.
My family causes conflict and trauma inside of me.
Oh,
And because of
no.
that, I have to find strength to manage things.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Y-
they are the fives in the tarot deck, and
Wow.
they cause me to, because at first I'll lose my shit with my family. I'll be like, I can't do
Yeah.
this, I can't do it.
Right.
But then I'm like, okay, stop. Think,
Hmm.
hammer time. Um,
Yeah.
I,
Mm.
that's for you, Heather.
Right.
Um, yeah, let's see what people say.
And also strength of the community. Like, we're taking a minute to pause and read some of these comments. Like, there's some people right here in this chat and probably watching this on playback that have played a big part into the strength of me as well. Because yeah,
I
I've
don't know if
certainly.
she's still here, but Amanda was like that at one night. I was having just my niece. I was in a broadcast. I think you were watching, maybe. My niece was in a car accident,
Yeah.
um, and my husband told me while I was on air, and I basically just said, "I gotta go." Wham, slammed the thing down and took off. But for the next few days, my life was in turmoil. I mean, the baby was in that bracket, the young niece, everything was really bad, and I didn't realize how much I was losing control. And it was during one of Amanda's shows, and Amanda and her words and that southern drawl that she
Yeah.
has. It's okay, baby, you're gonna be
Yeah.
okay. And I was like,
I
I
know.
will be okay, okay,
That's
thank you.
yes.
So yeah,
Yep.
uh, the Hermit is our next card. Introspection, wisdom, and solitude. Would you say you pull back from people when you? This is the Virgo card, by the way.
This is the Virgo card.
This
Here
is
I
the Virgo
am.
card, by the way.
Yeah.
Would you
Hmm.
say you're a pull back kind of person?
Yeah. So here's the thing. With like tropical Western astrology, I'm Virgo, right? But if you look into sidereal, I'm Leo. And so uh, I definitely embrace both, but I would say that instead of like allowing myself to shine and roar like Leo, I do tend to be like, okay, like introspection, like, go within in terms of hermit mode. Probably a little bit too much, but as I get older, I'm I'm feeling more of that Leo energy, and yeah,
You
like
strike me as a Leo. Yeah.
yeah.
They even said you've got Leo energy, Leo hair too. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Actually, I just recently found out about sidereal. I mean, not that I didn't know about sidereal astrology. I never looked into what my sign
right.
would be or whatever. And I never really understood like what is the difference between Western and sidereal. And then when I learned that like sidereal's, more accurate, well, depends who you ask, of course. I don't want to get into that controversial topic, but it can be more accurate because it allows for the calculation of the the axis of our earth changing, you know what I mean? And so Miss Tarot D, hey girl.
We love
uh,
a Saturday.
Miss Tarot D. Um, Speaking of strength, Miss Tarot D, I mean, she brings strength to all of us, right? So,
She is
uh,
somebody who transmits that idea
mhm,
of you can do it.
for sure.
Uh,
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Like I will always be like hermit. Like that is my thing for sure. But I'm learning to embrace the Leo and to come out a little bit more because I do tend to be a little, you know, not I don't want to use the word reserved because that's not true. Sometimes I'm very outspoken, but um I need to learn to just trust myself more that I have all the knowledge, I have all the wisdom, like I've done the studies, I've experienced the life things, and now it's just time to share it instead of like we sometimes Virgos can get lost in their head, like is it maybe there's something more I need to know before I present this, or and it's just like, girl, just
yeah.
instead of being introspective, like just let it out,
The
share what you have.
Hermit, the Hermit is one of the cards that looks back
Hmm.
and considers
Yep.
what has come before. Do you have regrets, major regrets, or do you take things in stride as learning experiences, or do you
Yeah,
hold on to them?
I definitely have no regrets. I don't live with regrets. I don't really. No, I don't at all. I think that everything that has happened in my path has taught me and led me to exactly where I need to be. Have all those choices been good choices? No. Like all of us, I think that we've made good and bad choices, but I definitely zero regrets. That's for sure.
Chris is bailing you guys. He's got a show tomorrow doing live readings. So thank you, Chris. And
Hi,
I'll be
Chris.
sending you the link. He's going to be on Behind the Cards. I'm so excited. So fluid. Check his channel out, you guys, please. Heather posted it a little while ago. Um, yeah. So regret is something that people shouldn't have. There's no point. I can understand looking back and like football players would look back and study a video of the game,
Mm-hmm.
but not just to see, oh man, I jacked up there. I can't believe it. They're not doing that. They're seeing how they can improve.
Right.
Um, and anybody that does that rocks. I'm just telling you now. And if you see somebody going through that, you guys give them their space if they need it. I
Mm-hmm.
think we're all smart enough to know that. All right, the wheel is our next card. Natural cycles, change of luck. You've had with the change of career.
Mm.
Um, that's a big change.
Yeah.
Okay. I describe that as a natural change, though.
Mm-hmm.
This is the direction I think your life was supposed to go in. And it
Yeah.
wouldn't have happened if you didn't make that decision to leave nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm always in the hospital, nurses are just heroes to me. I'm going to tell you that first of all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody who heals is a special type of soul. Um, what do you think you're evolving into?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, certainly everything that I've not just walking away from nursing, but everything that I've, like I said, that I've gone through and experienced
Yeah,
at this point has really prepared me um, to really go within and recognize the gifts that I can offer that doesn't necessarily mean any university degree. Of course, as we go through life, we try to, you know, get the degrees, get the diplomas, get the certificates, like whatever, so that we can get the good job and the whole thing. But actually,
Hmm.
now that I've had this time to really contemplate and really go, I've really had to dig deeper, obviously, spiritually throughout all of this, is recognizing like, wow, okay, actually, I really do have innate gifts. And of course, knowledge that I've acquired over the years from life experience and from studies that I can really apply to something different out here. I am a healer by nature. I am a nurturer by nature, but I can utilize that in different ways now. And really, there are so many opportunities of what I could do with that and what that could look like. And so, certainly, with having a YouTube channel, I definitely want to connect with people on that level a little bit more. And um, there's definitely a lot more I would like to do in terms of the healing. Energy healing is one of them, of course. It doesn't have to be Reiki, but that could certainly be a part of it. Um, but I
I
just recognize.
always advise Reiki to anybody, card readers, psychics, witches. I always advise taking a class on Reiki
Yep.
to know how to raise your power, how to
Hmm.
focus your power.
Yep. Absolutely.
I
For
hear
sure.
my dogs going crazy out there. It's probably the mailman. Um,
Mm.
where are we? So, what do you think you're evolving into? Was what? How do you see your abilities expand?
Hmm.
Um, what do you think your gifts are going to lead you?
I think having this time now to feel out really what I want to do instead of going through the system of what I'm being told to do. Quite frankly, um, you know, I really want to tap into more of my natural healing abilities. I know I have it. I know that's what I'm here to do. It's what I've been told time and time again from many, not only from spirit, from other very talented readers. Um, I'm I'm always told that you're a leader, you're a teacher, you're a healer. Now go do it. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And so uh,
Right.
I'm definitely, exploring more of that and deciding how I want to package that and deliver it to the world. Yeah. So at this very moment, I don't have a concrete answer for you, but
So what
say,
I'm hearing
mm,
is you're definitely going to lean more into the healing aspect of
yeah,
your spirituality.
yeah,
That's awesome. That's Virgo energy right there.
yeah, the
Uh,
healers. Mhm.
yeah. Justice is our next card. It symbolizes fairness, balance, and truth. Uh, I'm going to talk to you as a card reader,
Mhm.
that you are as a diviner. Um, how do you handle delivering painful truths to people?
Mm.
And have
Mhm.
you ever had a situation that just jacked you up?
Um, yeah. So first, like as being the reader that I am, I think it's very important to deliver what you see, but oh, if it's something very jarring or something that you're kind of like, do I really say this? There is a way to deliver a message. So, going back to it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I pride myself in my style of communication in terms of being very compassionate, empathetic, and I warn my people, my clients, people who
My
come to me,
peeps.
my peeps. I warn people when I read for them. I said, here you may come to me with this question, but just be prepared that anything could come out. Are you open to that? Are you okay with that? And if they say yeah, then depending on what it is, I'm really not so hesitant to share. But if someone comes to me with like a specific question about, say, love, and then it's way off the walls about something else, I'm like, well, um, you know, uh, again, there's a soft way to present it that I do anyway. Um, have I ever had an experience? I worked on the psychic hotlines for a while, and
Yeah,
uh,
I did too.
yeah, 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 that's a whole
They're
different ball.
rude people. My first night doing that,
Yeah.
I literally logged on and everybody just started going, tell my fortune, tell my fortune, tell my fortune. I was like,
What the-
hi,
yeah.
nice to meet you.
It's a
The rule.
different, it's a very different energy, and I learned quickly that it was not for me. There's many different style readers out there, and please, anybody watching, I'm not knocking it if that's what you do. It is a needed service, because there's people out there who
Oh
they
God,
just want the quick and dirty, you know what I mean? And that's cool if that's your style. Definitely not mine. But on that specific platform, yeah, there was people that would, fire back, because on the one platform I worked on, they would pay you for a reading, and then the person could keep freaking messaging you. I'm like, what? Stop,
that's not a random, is it?
for sorry?
Was it a random?
No,
The
it was a
company?
Purple Ocean.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Some of
I,
them are good companies, but like you say, a lot of them are
well, there's just no boundaries. Like, okay, you're only paying me $5 for this reading, and now you want me to answer 17 more questions. And
yeah.
in those 17 questions, basically, and what I was getting at to your question is that they're arguing with me. They're like, okay, but you said this, but I asked this. I'm like, okay, but that's what came out. And yes, I answered your question, but it also gave you this information. And by the way, on Purple Ocean, you have 3 minutes to quickly get this message out on these record. So, I mean, in 3 minutes, I gave you everything that I saw, and they want to come back at you. And that's the thing, though, as a reader, and I'm sure you've gotten this in many other readers, is that, there are times when people don't want to hear the messages that are coming up. Quite, that's not what I want to hear. Well, that's not how this works. I don't get to just
You
tell
know,
you what you
I
hear.
kind of stopped
You
doing this. One company was I did a reading for a lady online. It was in the group chat thing. She had asked about her relationship. How does this man feel about her? And I was, okay, fine. I did the reading, and pulled the King of Clubs, or the King of Cups, the Queen of Cups, and the Page of Cups. All right,
know?
and I'm telling her this is the perfect ideal family situation. This is happiness. And I'm going on about this. And when I'm done, she says, well, that doesn't answer my question. How does he feel about me? And I'm looking at the screen like this, like, I,
Well, would you like me to spell it out for you? Oh boy.
yeah, so yeah, you can't control how somebody's going to react to what we lay down for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Hanged Man is the next card. It's one of my favorite cards.
Mm,
No matter what deck I have, it's one of the first cards I look at. The some people, Chris Butler looks at the planetaries, the star, the sun, and the moon
mm-hmm,
to decide if he likes the deck. I look at the Magician and the Hanged Man. Um, they're just those are the cards that relate to me.
mm-hmm.
Uh, the Hanged Man symbolizes surrender, perspective, and sacrifice. I have trouble surrendering at times until things get to where I'm almost drowning, and then I'm like, fine, I surrender. Let's do it this way.
Yes.
Um, do you have trouble surrendering in situations?
um.
I'll give you
Yeah.
a for instance. You've made a decision to follow through with something.
Mhm.
Now the decision is made. Now the work has to be done. Do you have trouble actually backing up your own decisions?
No, in that perspective, no, definitely not. Like I definitely don't have a problem carrying through. But for example, going back to Virgo again, like we are hard workers and sometimes we overcommit. And so sometimes I struggle with knowing when to stop and surrender and you know and rest and that type of thing. So in that respect, yeah, sometimes I do. Um, I've learned though. Oh my gosh, I've learned because right now, currently, I'm on a medical leave from my current job because of. So I'm in a hanged man moment right now where I'm being forced
You're
to
in.
surrender.
Why? What's going on? Tell me? Speak to me.
Yeah. So, yeah, without sharing too much information,
Right.
I had to step away because of stress and mental leave. Yeah. So it was too much taxing on my physical body, which then led to some mental health problems, which I've never ever experienced in my whole life. I didn't even know what I was experiencing when it was happening, And actually, the day, I mean, if I sitting back here and looking in the past, I could see this leading up. But of course, when you're in it, you don't
Yeah.
maybe see it or feel it. You're just sort of doing the grind, getting through, and yeah, like I did a lot for this company and pushed myself obviously harder than I should have. And one day, I'll never forget, like I clocked in, we opened at 8 in the morning, and all of a sudden, like by 9:30, 10 o'clock, I just felt like this, I can't even explain it, like this uh, rush of like, I gotta get out of here. And I'm thinking to myself, I gotta get out of here. Like I felt panic, like as if the building's on fire. Like I gotta get out of here. And I'm like, what the hell? I've never felt this before. Like I don't take any prescription medication. I don't know what's happening to my body right now. So I'm like, okay. So I calm myself down. I didn't have any, buddy to wait on at the moment. So I turned to my colleagues and said, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. They're like, yeah, take your time. So I go in the bathroom and I'm like, I feel like I'm going to throw up and I'm getting dizzy. And I'm like, what is happening? I thought maybe I'm coming down with something, I don't know. But I couldn't get over this feeling of right before I left, like it was a pharmacy, right before I left the pharmacy, I felt literally, I'm not even kidding you, somebody like grabbed me by the throat and like forced me physically out of that environment. And I thought, what the hell was that? And I didn't want to say this to anybody because I think I'm weird, you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, I got to get out of here. So I just clocked out and took my phone and messaged my boss. I said, I got to go. I'm sorry. I'm not feeling well. I got to go. I'm not going to tell him what happened because he's going to think I'm nuts.
Right.
But anyway, so I calmed myself down and I called my husband and he's like, what's going on? I told him, he's like, are you okay to drive? Yeah. Well, just come home. Like, let's talk about it. So I came home or whatever. And he looks at me. He's like, you really don't know? You really don't know what's happening? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you've just worked yourself to this. Like you're broken down now. Like you're burnt out. You're stressed. Something physically removed you from there to tell you this is time for your hanged man moment right now. This is it.
Yeah.
If you don't make time for it, it's gonna make time for you. And here we are. And that really surprised me because I honestly did not really see it coming, even though, like I said, physical signs within my body, certainly I probably should have seen it coming. And yeah, I had to go to my doctor and bawl my eyes out and tell her what was going on. And she's like, oh, honey, you're depressed. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What is this? What does it mean? And so we had this long talk. And so now, I'm going to therapy and, she offered me prescription medication to assist me with it. But I I was really, not that I'm against, of course I'm not against prescription medication, but I was leery because I've never taken it before and I didn't know what to expect and I was nervous. And so I told her, no, like let me just try something first. Let me like physically exercise and change my diet. Let me try a few things. And if it doesn't work, I promise you I'll try whatever you want me to try. And you know what? I have been walking 4 miles every day. I've changed my diet. I I've completely changed my lifestyle because I'm afraid of going back to whatever that was that I was feeling. And
Right.
um, yeah, so this is a very different thing for me. So yeah, I'm definitely currently living with depression, even though
It's neat
it's
that you said, not that it's neat that you're going through that, but it's neat that you recognize it. And
mm,
it's neat that the Hebrew letter associated with the hanged man is mem, and it means water, the water of spirituality, the water of the subconscious. Um,
mhm.
this is definitely your subconscious telling you, bitch.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Your body will do that to you. My body has done that to me too. I've woken up
Hmm.
in the hospital and
Yeah,
I don't like it. I
yeah.
remember, okay, funniest time. Uh, I knew I was sick. I knew it, but I had a lot of clients. I was going to school. I was working. So I was gone from like 6 in the morning till 10 at night. Um, I was teaching a class at one of the beauty schools before work. And I went, taught the class, went had breakfast, went back to the salon, walked in, waved to a couple of girls, and hit the floor face first. That
Oh,
was it. I was out.
oh.
My sugar was at 1020, my
Mm.
glucose, and I was in the hospital for quite a while because of that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and
Wow.
it's just my body made the decision for me right there. And I
Yep.
brought it up because when I woke up, I was on the floor in Phoenix, in Chandler actually.
Yep.
And the firemen there, you guys who don't live in the desert, wear little tight blue shorts. So I'm on the ground and I've got six firemen squatting around me when I open my eyes, all in tight blue shorts. And I hear the girls asking from the other side, "Is he okay?" And all they see is this little hand go through them from behind their legs like that.
I am now.
I am now good. I'm good. But yeah,
Aw.
let's go on to the next card. Yeah, if I don't make time for myself,
Yeah.
um,
And just back to
shit
the
will happen.
hangman really quickly, like also I quite literally the hanged man actually has a another meaning to me as well because I lost my dad to suicide and he actually hung himself. So
Mm,
anytime I see that card as well, it has it's not a negative thing. I know most people think, oh my gosh, it's terrible, it's horrible, but you know what? It's not. It's actually very comforting to me. Um, because back to what you were saying about family lineage and using substance to quiet that. He was a raging alcoholic, and so unfortunately we lost him to suicide. And anytime that that card comes up, it brings up not the negative side of it, but the the strength that comes from that. Of like um, how strong he must have had to be to carry it out, how strong he had to be to try to get help, but nothing was helping. And anyway, all comes down to that, like taking that pause in life and really ties into what you and I were just talking about of like, if you don't make time for something, it's going to make time for you. And
yeah.
yeah, so it all ties in together. So that is quite literally what I think
My
of as
family
well.
has trouble sometimes with my choice of profession. Um, Not my family. My family's totally cool. My husband's family.
Mm,
We've been together for 25 years now almost,
mm,
and they are very mega, very super uber duper Christian
mhm.
type people. And I accept, or they accept that I'm with their son, so I'm not pushing anything. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna push my take my chances with them. Um, they, I don't even know where I was going with that. Every time I think about his family, I just feel like I'm sacrificing a piece of myself
Mm,
for their peace of mind, and I don't
yeah.
like that. I don't
Yeah.
like that I do that, but they're very old, and I'm not going to upset their apple cart now.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
get that. I'm
it's
pretty
not
much,
hurting me to keep my mouth shut. Witches have operated in secrecy for centuries, so.
yeah. Yes.
Uh, the death card represents transformation, endings, and rebirth. The first time you had to rebuild yourself, speaking of Phoenix energy, the first
Hmm.
time that you sort of crashed and burned and rose from the ashes, were you
Hmm.
shocked that you were able to do
Yeah, I've had many of these moments in life for sure. Um, some recent, as I just shared, but also, yeah, I almost died giving birth to my children. Actually, specifically my first one, and there's many different scenarios that I could share with you. But yes, quite literally, when you come out of these moments, it's you know for a lack of a better word, transformational, but it really does transform you on like a cellular level. It's you come out on the other side with such wisdom and strength and resilience that only this type of thing can give you. I always explain it to people like, yeah, sure, you can go ahead, you can take that book and you can learn whatever, or you can actually walk through the flames and experience it. And now you tell me who could give you the best advice. Someone who's lived it or someone who read about it. Not that either
that?
one outweighs the other, but I mean,
No, it's a valid point. I
mm,
honestly prefer getting advice, medical advice from an older doctor because I know
Yeah.
that this man or woman has dealt with a lot of things. They've
Yes.
probably faced what I'm dealing with when
Right.
it's what I
Right.
call a duckling, like a duckling, when it's a duckling and they're just fresh out of medical school.
Yes.
I really don't want, no.
Hmm.
Can I get somebody else? And I've asked for other people, not because of their age, but because I don't have confidence in their ability to help me.
That's right.
Um,
Hmm.
I've the first time I went to a doctor in the city that I live in now, um, it's a very small town. They don't have an infectious disease doctor that I need.
Hmm.
And I went in, had an appointment, and this is what he said to me. Well, I've never dealt with anybody in this situation before, but I'm willing to give it a try. And
Oh,
that is how I decided, no, I-
no,
no, I got to go. Bye. And I got up and I left. So, no.
no. That's not really, even so in the medical field, we don't, that's not how you, that's not very good bedside manner. um
Yeah, I had to stop and think about it afterwards. I do live in a small desert town out in the middle of BFE,
yeah,
and
true.
this is one of those places where doctors, when they fuck up at the big hospitals and they start going to the smaller hospitals, this is one of those places. Okay. And
Mm.
everybody knows it.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knows it. Um, Temperance, which brings healing after the change, because
Hmm.
it's associated with Sagittarius, the wounded warrior, embodies balance, moderation, and harmony, that reintegrating after the sudden change of the death card. Um,
Mm.
when you feel the need, when you realize something is off on a mental or spiritual nature with you, even on a physical nature, what's the first thing you do to find balance and harmony? Do you,
Breathe.
okay,
Breathe.
breathe?
Yeah, back to my breath.
That's
Like the breath work is huge for me. um because it's something that you can do no matter where you are, whether you're driving or you're wherever, you always have that ability to pause and breathe in a specific way, and it helps reset your nervous system, so um yeah, breathing, and I drink lots of water. I have to have lots of water, and breathing. Those are two things. And then of course, like I shared with you, my physical exercise has been, I have to, it's my medicine. I have to do it now. And not that
this
I,
is what I do to calm down.
yeah. Do you really?
I blow into my thumb. Yeah, I
Oh,
blow and just make my eyes close because it's resets something. Same thing with what you were saying. I can't
yeah.
remember exactly what, but it does.
Yep, yep,
And
yep.
so I
Hmm.
didn't mean to cut you off, but I
No.
didn't want to look stupid sitting here
Yeah.
going,
No, it's okay. No, that's right. It does help reset. And yeah, yeah, those are, yeah, breathing with, I mean, it comes with exercise, of course, but I mean, it's a different kind of a breathing. You're in a different rhythm,
yeah.
but just mindfulness, back to your breath and coming to the present moment. And um,
Well, it is when you sit down to relax and focus your breath. That's with intention, you're breathing. When you're
mhm.
exercising, you're breathing to survive. It's a totally different thing,
Yeah,
totally different
yeah.
vibe. Um, Breathing is something people always forget to do. So I'm glad you said that. That should be the first step.
Hmm.
And I know a lot of people say they sit back and close their eyes. I don't.
You
I
don't
don't
have
close
to.
my eyes. I don't close my eyes when I meditate because my vision kind of um, phases out. I can focus in other places.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll be honest, sometimes it scares me because I can feel myself starting, if I'm not careful, to release from my body type of situation.
Yep.
And that scares me still to this day. I
Yeah.
know it happens sometimes when I'm asleep. I know people do it at will. So, and kudos to you for being able to. But the thought of being cut loose from my body scares the heck out of me because
Hmm.
I know there's that one little cord connecting me.
Yep, that's right.
And I read a book where they severed those cords and people were just,
Hmm.
and that was it. I was like, nope, not doing it. I'm not doing it. And it was not a real book. It was one of the sci-fi fantasies that I like. But yeah, so that's healing. Um, when you see somebody in need of healing, what's the first thing you do?
Mm. So it depends on what kind of healing we're talking about. Um, but if it's not emergency, of course, like, are you bleeding out or what's happening here? But no, but if it's just, healing comes in so many forms. I am the type of person, and I don't, maybe it's again because of my who I am by nature, but people tend to come to me just naturally. They gravitate towards me. And I've had complete strangers at the grocery store come up to me, and it begins with talking about the bananas we're looking at, and it turns into this whole let me tell you everything about me. And I'm like, what? I'm just trying to get my groceries, but okay. But you know what? It all goes back to active listening. Active listening is such a powerful skill that I think a lot of people could better themselves on. And the difference between hearing, listening, and active listening is that, you know, hearing is quite literally, you can hear me talking right now, but are you listening to me? Listening, really hearing words and not trying to formulate something in a response to what someone's saying. And especially really what I'm talking about here is when someone really just needs to talk. It's talk therapy is so healing to a lot of different people, especially people who really maybe don't have someone to be able to talk to that is non-judgmental and that can actively listen to them, right? So I would say that I'm a really good listener in that aspect. I'm not going to judge you. As a matter of fact, I'm probably not even going to give you advice unless you ask for it, because
Yeah.
most time people don't want the unsolicited advice. They just want someone to hear them out. And so I would say
If
active
they're
listening.
in my reading session and they paid me a great deal of money to sit down for an hour, I'm going to give them my opinion. And
Oh yeah,
that's
in the reading.
that's um, what you say about unsolicited opinions. It's true. One of my biggest mistakes when I first went live is I did a reading, and I think it was the show you're talking about when I was testing out my stuff. Somebody wanted a reading, and I did it, but then when I was done, I saw another name and I just started reading for them. And then their response was, I didn't ask. And I was like, oh, and I realized I was still panicking. That's,
Mm. Mm.
I, I, yeah, what you had said about listening to listen or listening to talk
Mhm.
is my big challenge.
Mm.
I want to be part of the conversation I always have. And it's a big thing with me trying to focus my thoughts. When you're talking, I write things down so I don't say them
Mhm.
out loud. So, and I
Mhm.
still cut people off. I don't mean to. It's just
No, no, it's
personality
all
flaw.
good.
The the energy required to heal
Mhm.
somebody on a physical nature is one thing, but the energy required to heal somebody on a spiritual nature is totally different. Do you find yourself drained after sessions, tarot sessions, trinket sessions, um, or do you find yourself energized?
Oh no, it depletes me. So I have to be very mindful of my own energy. I'm very, very specific. Like when it comes to my ethics for reading, I have a whole rule book for myself. Like, I have no business reading for someone and going that deep and tapping in if I'm not feeling my best self. Um, you know, and in terms of even just going live and doing readings or doing a personal one-on-one, a paid reading, I energize myself, I clear my space, I do the whole thing, ask for my protection, and my spiritual team definitely will energize me through that session, and it's great and it's high vibe, and what you see is what you get with me. There's no pretending or mask or anything like that. I don't even wear makeup, okay, nothing like that. So but afterwards I'm like deflated like a balloon. I'm like, you'll see me over here just chilling, probably scrolling on YouTube, and like just completely tired. It drains the hell out of me. And I think it does a lot of us because you're utilizing so much energy to be able to tap in. You're not only utilizing your energy, you're tapping into their energies and all these other spiritual energies, and you're like, it's spiritually
Yeah.
frying. Yeah, for sure. But it's worth it because it's such an honor. It really is to, have people being so trustworthy in you and your abilities to tap into them. And you know, to be able to help people in some of their most vulnerable states, between the medical field that I worked in and tarot readings, I can't think of a more vulnerable place to help people, So,
Right. Audra wants to know, when you're watching other channels and playing along at home, do you get drained?
yeah, sometimes the chat in certain channels can go weird,
It does.
and I can definitely feel the energy shift. Um, I will be honest, like, I try my very best to energetically send positive vibes to these channels and things like that, but sometimes it overtakes it, and I have to walk away. I can't. I'm very very sensitive. I'm very highly intuitive, empathetic, and yeah, like, with my abilities, my clairsentient. I just I can't take it all on. Like, it's just too much. And um that's why it's so important too when you're going into readings. Even just like you said, you're just watching someone else's channel. You've got to psychically protect yourself. You've got to energetically protect yourself. You may think, oh, just YouTube, I'll just go see who's on. Okay, well, be careful because
Your spirit is reaching out, at least mine does. When I'm
yeah,
watching a channel, and
yeah,
I no more so than when I'm watching one of Ginger's Paranormals.
mm-hmm,
I
yeah,
my spirit reaches out and I want to play along at home, follow the bouncing ball. Um, and anybody who does distance readings, it is draining for you.
yeah, yep,
When I do ancestor readings, though, when I'm just opening up and letting that energy come through. There are times when I'm done and I'm just amped. I'm
mm-hmm,
wired. Okay.
mm-hmm,
That that energy of the ancestors is still riding me, and I have to actually ground and release and go through the whole process like I was a beginner. Just
mm-hmm,
follow the steps.
mm-hmm,
The overwhelming energy sometimes from these readings can be more than the general public gets. Uh,
yep,
Temptation, materialism, and control is what the devil card brings.
mm-hmm.
What's your biggest temptation?
My biggest temptation. Mm, sometimes it's to retreat. It's to retreat into, you know, again, that hermit mode, but it's also to just like pull back and, um, not share anything, like not share my gifts, not like, which is crazy to me, because of my love of people and wanting to, put myself out here and do all the things. But yeah, sometimes, you know, I can get just, I'm sure like most people, we can get caught up in our own thoughts, and sometimes you just want to retreat and not do anything, So
I
that,
used to feel guilty when I would do that. I don't anymore. And
hmm,
now I put the phone on vibrate. If I don't want to be disturbed, I don't
yeah,
look at the phone. I don't answer the door. And I
no,
have to make sure that I'm not isolating. That's the thing.
yeah,
Um,
that's what I'm really talking about, is like that's a kind of a teeter-totter thing. It's like you can be too much or not enough. Like my phone's always on silent. I don't have any notifications going off. I very much no. I very much protect my energy and who I give my energy to, in
yeah.
terms of energy leaks. I'm very very cognizant of that. Bobby and Angie,
Harley
do you
wants to know, is it distance readings take more than one-on-one in the same location? They can, in my opinion, they can. What's yours?
Distant readings take more than one-on-one. Oh, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
I
I
say this when I'm doing a distance reading, I just did this with Ginger. Picture a crystal ball. I can look in this side, but I'm seeing from the other side. Okay, it's like I'm
yeah.
sticking my head in the ball and looking out the other side.
Mhm.
So although it seems easy, and that's a real watered down version of what I try to do, there are times when I'm faced with resistance from the client, or I can feel myself clawing to hold on to certain aspects,
Mm.
trying to move things out of the way so I can see. And in those situations, when I have to exert that much effort and the client's not playing along, yes, it does exhaust the crap out of me. What
Yeah.
about you?
You're right, and honestly, I think to answer this question, I would say it depends on the person you're reading for. Like you said, if someone is comes to you and they're open, like, and I mean energetically open, and they're like, "Come on, like, let's do this." My reading style is conversational. Like, if you're coming to me for a reading, we're gonna have a conversation, and we're gonna work through whatever you've come to me for, you know? Um, and so in that, I ask, I would hope, of course, that my paying client would be open to that. And but unfortunately, that's not always the case because people, are afraid, or they're kind of hesitant, or
Or
maybe
they
they've
have ideas of what it should be.
should be, yeah, or they've experienced trauma in their life, and you never know, right? It could be anything
Yeah.
of why they're coming to you, and why they're acting the way they are. Um, you know, uh, I would say though, when I read for people in person, I would say for me, it's like I can connect with you just as easily here as I can in person, of course. But in person, it's a different kind of a frequency because you're literally
There's
like
a more
feeling.
personal aspect
Yeah.
involved.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
I know that in those situations when I do have a client in front of me, it's very rare, but if I'm having that kind of difficulty, I will reach out and ask. I put my
Mhm.
hand out and ask for their hand, and
Mhm.
that will strengthen the bond.
Yes.
But, but I try not to touch my clients even with
No.
their hands. And at the end, if it was a good session, I say, "May I give you a hug?" I always ask, don't just
Mhm.
assume, because some
Yeah.
people don't want to be touched. Don't touch me.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't like to be touched for sure. Yep.
Yeah, what
Mhm.
you were saying, a lot of people come to us for issues of trauma.
Mm.
The tower represents upheaval, sudden change, and revelation.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, has anybody, when you revealed something to them, had a really bad reaction?
I wouldn't say bad reaction, more of
Like,
like,
I think we all get a lot of tears. It goes
yeah,
with the category.
yeah,
But
for sure. Yeah, a lot of, but in that respect, I see it as like a release. The tower is absolutely about a release, and it's never easy to to deliver these types of messages to people. But again, it's important that you read what you see. But again, there's a way that you can go about it. So, if I'm
exactly.
revealing something such as a tower moment to somebody, like there's a way to reveal it, and there's a way to word it. Instead of saying like a tower moment, you can just say like an emotional release or a physical release. There's so many different ways of wording it. And it definitely depends on each person you're reading for. Once you sit down with the person, whether in person or like this, for me, I'm so empathetic. I can connect with people and get to know who I'm talking to right away. Within 2 minutes, I already know how I'm going to be able to talk to you, because you got to meet
Yeah.
people on the level that they're at, right? I'm not here to change anyone. I'm not here to, make you jump through hoops or anything like that. I'm going to meet you where you are, and we're going to work through it.
Well,
So,
that's the thing. We can't meet clients and expect them to work on our level. They're
no,
coming to us. We have to scramble to get onto their level.
yeah,
So
it can be tricky sometimes, but yes.
it can be tricky. And
Hmm.
some people just don't want to hear what you have to say, no matter how many times you reword it, or how many decks you use, or how
Yeah.
many whatever.
Yeah. A lot of
Um,
people just have it fixed in their mind of what they've come to you for, and this is what they want to hear. And if you're not delivering that, they're like, I'm not buying it. And you're like, okay, well,
I'm lucky. I am part of the psychic community in my county,
hmm
and pretty much everybody who does professional readings I'm involved with. So we have a network, so to speak. And if we notice somebody card hopping and just going to different readers trying to get an answer, we'll give each other a heads up. Or if somebody is trying to do a financial fast one on you, like get a reading and cancel their credit card after the fact,
yep,
we contact each other. It's
yep,
out there. So if you
yeah,
screw up in our county,
hmm
you're blackballed, basically.
yeah. We look
Uh,
out for each other like that here on this community too. You know, there are people, unfortunately,
Absolutely.
they just go from channel to channel asking the same thing, and it's not helpful to that individual, and it's certainly not helpful to the channels that you're going on because as people know that are here in the chat, I'm sure, like we frequent other channels. And so we see the same person popping up when, now you're reading for the same question for the same person. And you could have read for maybe somebody new that doesn't know who you are, your reading style, or somebody that really could have utilized that information instead of just, again, seeking the information they were hoping to find. It's unfortunate. But you know what? I also think it's a learning experience too. Like, again, I'm the type of person I'm always looking at things from both perspectives. Okay, but why is this person asking the same question? They're obviously desperate. They're obviously in need of something. There's always a meaning and some to every interaction, right? And
Well,
so,
I have one lady that makes the rounds for the readers, and she's convinced that there's demonic entities.
mm,
Uh, she's had the best exorcists, spiritualists, psychics that I know, and these are powerful people.
mm,
Witches go to her house, cleanse it from all different walks. And we have all come to the conclusion that maybe this lady just needs more help than we can give her.
yeah,
Um, and we stopped.
mm,
Everybody just stopped dealing with her because it got to the point where it felt like taking money, and that's not what
yeah,
we do.
that's right.
Um, we it, it was painful to have to do and to
hmm
tell somebody, I think you need to look at this list that I have.
Yep.
And so I always keep a list of um,
Mental
referrals,
health. Yeah.
mental health referrals,
hmm
physical
Yeah.
referrals, financial referrals,
Yeah.
anything that I think might be of use. I'll give that sheet to my client. And
Yeah.
she wasn't happy about it. She wasn't.
Yeah.
She's still trying to find people to help her out. But people like that, it's a
Yeah.
different thing. And
That
it's
is.
not
That is.
anything we can help with. And we should all know our limits when it comes to that.
Well, yeah. I
The
mean,
star.
they're coming to you
Oh,
for a specific service, and it's like going to a dentist for a broken arm. I'm sorry, but that's
oh my gosh, I love that. I'm gonna
you
use
know
that from now on.
it's like I want to help you, but I don't have the right tools. Like, I'm this is what I do. This is a service I offer, and it's very few that times that I've had to do it, but I've had to refer people to, like you said, other professional services to better help them with their situation. Whether it be, like you said, mental health or financial or legal. Legal's a big one.
Oh God,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So.
Locate. I live in a town where we're right next to the fort, the
Mm.
army fort. Yeah, boy. Yeah. But yeah, they're always jogging down the street, and I just hate it. I really do. The
Mm,
In our town, a lot of what I deal with has to do with the military, um,
mm,
because I am an outside voice for my clients who are in the military.
mhm.
It helps them look at things in a different way. And I'm not talking um, privates and corporals. I have clients who are in military intelligence,
Yeah.
and it's not that they are going by what I say as law, but they are taking it as a different aspect that they're not looking at.
Yeah.
And I forget where I was going with that, but anyway, It's out there.
It's fine.
Hope, 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 hope. We've got the store, the store, the star. Um, we've already discussed one of the first things tonight on how you are an inspiration to people. Um, have you ever felt like I get the feeling that somebody, what we were just talking about, somebody wanting an answer and your light was shining in a certain way and they just didn't pick up on it. They weren't following what you were laying down.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I'm seeing that tied in with the star card here also. Um, do you get frustrated when you're not able to help people?
Yeah, I don't know if frustration. It's I'm sad when I can't help people because like that's like I've already alluded to, like I'm such a compassionate, nurturing, empathetic person that I want to be able to help everybody, and I know that realistically that's not possible. But yes, it
Yeah,
saddens me, but like we talked about, I'm always happy to refer them to somebody that may be. I'd never leave someone, whether it be a paid client or a friend or someone just in our YouTube community here. I never want to leave someone just like, well, sorry about your luck. Hopefully you can figure it out. Like I'm always
yeah,
trying to do everything that I possibly can, um, to offer them some sort of hope, some sort of guidance, whether it just be a link to a website or a phone number, or maybe even somebody else in the community that can help. So,
yeah. Most of my readings, 95% of the reading is identifying the problem, letting
hmm
my client know I see you, I see what you're going through. This
hmm
is happening. The last 5% is the advice
hmm
that I try. That's where the oracle cards come in. Okay.
yep,
That's where I say that I'm leaving you with this last card for advice. And that is what they carry with them. Um, and honestly, if I just tell them from within the advice, they're not following it. They're not
hmm
taking it with them. But if I
yeah,
do it with a card, then they like locked onto it and they carry it with them. And when I see them like 2, 3 sessions down the road, they'll make reference to it. And I'm like, how did you remember that?
yeah,
We've done hundreds of cards since then.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
when did you realize that people were actually paying attention to what you were saying
When did I realize? What was the question?
with your channel and what you had to say
Yeah.
spiritually? When did you realize, shit, this is really something? Yeah.
Yeah. Truly it was the engagement of like people commenting and people like yourself and even people here in chat like, yeah, like you're an inspiration, like thank you, like that reading resonated with me, or people reaching out quite frankly for paid readings. I'm like, whoa, this is really a thing. Like, okay. Um yeah, I it's humbling, right? Because I don't know. I'm just me and I'm who I am, and I don't think I'm better than anyone else. And I believe that we all really innately hold these gifts that we can strengthen, we can tap into. Some of us have stronger gifts than others, of course, um, abilities, I should say. And yeah, I would definitely just say like the people that have reached out to me behind the scenes in comments, um, I truly like I've been in tears at times. Like I can't believe it. I'm like, right, really? Okay. I just I'm just who I am, and I just show up, and wherever people are, need some help, I just try to do that. So yeah.
And she's humble too. Look at that. Um, you are an inspiring soul. You are approachable. You have a way of, and I think that comes from your nursing background. You
Yeah.
understand people. You
Yeah.
understand the pain that they're in and where they're
Mm,
coming from, and you make the effort to connect with them.
yeah.
Most, well, I can't say most, a lot of readers don't make that effort.
Yeah.
And they forget that there's people, we may be proud of ourselves for being able to make a story out of the cards, but we're forgetting these people are taking that story and applying it to their lives after they leave our table.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a very important fact that we all need to remember. I'm not being preachy. I'm
No.
just saying, there have
Yeah.
been times in the past when I forget that I'm dealing with a live person. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
there's
put
a
the puzzle
person
together.
behind
I got
yeah,
it.
there's a person behind that question with feelings and a whole life and yeah, and when you're in the medical field, regardless of what area of medicine you're in, um, you really got to read the energy of the room, meaning what that means is um like let's say like I walk into a room and I'm supposed to give somebody like medication or whatever, and they're just like completely sobbing and but you're on a time schedule and you're like, well, you've got to take this medicine. I'm sorry that you're crying. I'm not sure what your problem is, but you need to like I would never, you know what I mean? But you wouldn't believe that there's people that do that because
Oh yeah, I would.
they don't have they don't have that personality part of it. They don't have that understanding of like
I'm in the hospital at least 3, 4 times a year. I know that those people are in the medical field.
yeah,
Believe me, I know. I've dealt
yeah,
with them.
yeah.
So I'm glad there's people like you out there to pick up the slack, not just in the medical field, but in everyday life. I'm
Mhm.
sure that your light, just walking through the store, people notice you,
They
and they may
yes.
not know why, but they recognize your light.
There's times
The
where I'm
moon.
in a hurry and I'm just like, "Okay, I'm not gonna look at anybody. I'm just gonna go in. I'm gonna grab what I need. I'm gonna leave." And I don't mean to be rude, and I probably have resting bitch face when I'm doing it, but I'm like because I know that, chances are someone's gonna and I don't mind when I have the time, but I don't always have the time. And like I told you, some people are gonna tell me their whole life story. Um,
Let's see, energy is lighting them. Yeah, your energy is just like a beacon saying, "Hello,
hi.
I'm a healer." The moon, illusions, dreams, and the subconscious. What are your secret dreams? What do you dream about? That I promise I won't tell anybody.
What do I dream about?
Mhm.
Honestly, like my true dream is to be able to reach as many people as I can in terms of being able to help them on this healing level. There's this thread that keeps coming through. Obviously, all these cards that we're talking about. Um, I just I just wish that I could work through some of my subconscious stuff to get out of my own way. The moon card is really about that. It's really about working through that stuff that you're like, I'll get to it one day. And I mean, let me tell you, like, this is a work in progress. We're all a work in progress. I don't think it's ever done. Okay. That's not realistic. But in terms of self doubt, self imprisonment, self sabotage, yeah, that's a big part for me for the moon card. It's like, not fully trusting my abilities, even though you're like you're light and you're an inspiration. I'm like, oh yeah, like okay, I believe
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
I
yeah.
do, but I'm like, oh, like it makes me want to like hermit mode, like oh my gosh, like what? But and the thing is, like I know it, like I appreciate the compliments, and I want to fully believe it, and I just I don't know. Maybe it's just some of this stuff that I got to work out, personally. But yeah, ultimately though, my dream is to get over myself and to be able to fully show up, So,
I like the moon card because it's ruled by Pisces, the 12th
hmm
house, the house of secrets.
yeah.
Uh, this is the card that when I see it, it makes me think of what my client's going through that they're not telling anybody about.
hmm
Uh, when you're dealing with something that you just can't talk to anybody else about, what do you do?
When I'm going through something that I can't talk to anybody else about, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Sorry, there was
Like
not.
if you just can't find somebody that is going to understand or relate in the way you need, what do you do?
Um, there's somebody that just came home, so they're distracting me. I'm just trying to think. Um, one second, one second.
Okay. I like
Okay, sorry. I don't
hello.
think they realized I was still live, so I'm like, guys, like, hello. Not that they're being too loud; they're distracting me from my thoughts, you know.
No, I
So,
get that.
um, what I do, yeah. So I mean, I'm a very private person. It's very rare that I actually do. It's ironic, right? Because I want to help so many people. I'm like, tell me your problems. Come on, like I want to make you feel better. Like let's go. But when it
Right.
comes to me, I'm like, oh, like I don't trust a lot of people. I've been jaded a lot in my life, and so I
Shaded.
don't.
Good word.
Yeah, I don't. I really don't trust a lot of people in my life. I don't. And so therefore, there's not a whole lot of people that I open up to begin with. So therefore, um, I do a lot of communing in nature, and like again, we're going to go back to that. I read a lot for myself. I know there's some readers that don't read for themselves, but I read a lot for myself. I am not afraid to turn to another professional reader to ask for help as well. I'll be honest, most times I'll reach out to someone who doesn't know me because I don't want that stuff to interfere, because it's very easy. I don't mind reading for my friends on here. I really don't. But sometimes it's like you already know their story. You already know some stuff about them. And I sometimes feel like, it's like a bias that gets in the way of being able to fully dive deeper into that. So yeah, if I'm
Right.
really kind of stuck and I really don't have anybody, I will. Yeah, I'll definitely pay for professional reading from someone that doesn't know who I am. And just focusing on my spirituality, and like I've got a really kick-ass spiritual team, so and they never fail me. I do a lot of automatic writing that really helps me
Really?
to get out of my head and automatically write, and that's really helped me a lot when I don't have someone to turn to. I still feel like my spiritual team is somebody, a lot of people actually. And
Right.
so yeah, so that's what I do. It's a lot of solitude and introspection, and it's kind of like the hangman thing. But yeah,
So what I'm hearing that when you can't turn outward for guidance and understand things, rather than sit there freaking out, pulling your hair out, you turn inwards
yeah,
and try to handle things. You ground yourself with nature. That's
hmm
fantastic.
yeah.
Um,
I can't. I don't spend a lot of time freaking out and stuff because it just depletes me, and it's a waste of energy. And I mean, certainly there's moments, of
See,
course.
that's a mature woman talking right there. I'm sure that wasn't always the case, though, was it?
I think as I've aged, it's definitely changed. When I was younger, I was like hot tempered. Boy, let me tell you, like it was a different version of me. Um, but you quickly realize that doesn't really get you too far, and it doesn't really achieve much.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, there's still moments in life where you got to break that out once in a while because it's necessary. But for the most part, I just it's I'm really really
Sometimes you got to
careful.
put the pointy hat on and remind them who they're dealing with.
That's right. You got it. Um, I'm a very kind, compassionate nature, but don't cross me. Don't do that. Um, but yeah,
It's funny you
that's
should
what I
say
do.
that. I tell people that too. Uh, I wasn't always the spiritual person you see before you, so
Mm,
I see the costume.
mm-hmm.
I'm just
Right.
laying that out there.
Yes.
I will turn ghetto on your ass real quick.
Yeah.
Uh,
I definitely have that in me too. Yeah, because I grew up in Milwaukee, right? So
yeah, I grew up in LA. In LA, homie. Uh,
me and my Mexican neighbors, let me tell you something. I will take off my zapato and fucking hit you with it.
you said bye bye with the chocolate. Uh, the sun card is, we're narrowing down on the edge of our journey here. That's pretty cool. The sun card embodies joy, success, and vitality. Um, we're back to the healing with this. On the tree of
Leo.
life, the sun is associated with the sixth spot, um, called Tiferet. It is the Christ consciousness, the center of everything,
Mm,
the center of the tree of life, the center of the universe. The sun is the center. Describe the center of your universe to me.
mm. The center of so that's the essence. That's the core of who I am. And in order to access that or to fully know what that is, I believe it's kind of like you're peeling back those layers with every experience that you have in life. Again, I'll use the age thing. I mean, not that I even really use age to measure anything, but it's just that the amount of time that you've spent here on this planet and experiencing things and experiences and meeting different people, it adds to that. And so, uh, I think that it's a constant discovery for all of us of really finding that essence of who we are. If someone tells you they understand it fully, I'm sorry, I don't buy it, because it's it's such a big thing. It's
It
that Christ
evolves.
consciousness. It's so much bigger than, I know it's within us, but it's so much bigger than us at the same time. And I think that is it's so inspirational, so fitting for the sun card as well, because it does give us that constant uh, urge to learn more and do more and be better and explore. Our interests change and things about us change, but at the essence of who we really are, that doesn't change. It just that the more we learn about it, the deeper we can go within ourselves, and I think that's where we can truly um el
La
zapato to
chancleta.
flesh.
Y'all don't know what it's like getting hit with a chancla till you've had a chancla upside the head. Okay, I'm just saying.
Hey, I will say I miss all my Mexican neighbors, like in the States, because let me tell you, when they bring me some of them homemade chimichangas and oh my gosh, like everything. I miss it all. Oh my god, we don't
Well, if
really
I ever
have.
go visit Canada and I meet up with you, I'll make you some chimichangas sometime. I'm a good
Oh
cook.
my gosh, like I miss it all. I came here and I'm not kidding you. I'm like, where's the Mexican restaurants at? And my husband's like, I mean, we got Taco Bell. I'm like, I'm no.
Shut up.
First of all, let me tell you, no. No, there was no authentic Mexican restaurants in this area, and I thought I'm gonna die. I need Mexican, like I need real Mexican food. And in the last 2 or 3 years, we've had a huge influx of Mexican immigration here, which I'm like, yes, you're gonna bring the food, homie. Yeah, here we go. And it's been really, really cool, because I'm the type of person, I love culture. I'm like, bring it, like, come on in, move in with us, like, let's do this. And so a lot of them have moved down to Leamington down here, and now finally there's Mexican restaurants, like actual mom and pop, like Mexican restaurants. So I'm excited.
I live in the Southwest, so that's not a
Yeah,
problem for
I
me. The
know.
thought of not having Mexican food around me is like,
I was insulted. I'm like, pardon me.
I would be. I'd be like, what? What's going on? I
And what they
couldn't do
call
it.
salsa here is not salsa. I'm like, no, where's your heat? What is going on?
Do you know how to make salsa?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you don't, I'll teach you. I can teach
Yeah.
you that over the
Yeah.
internet.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the sucky part is now that I'm surrounded by the best Mexican food because I'm right near the border.
Hmm.
Um, I'm too old and my stomach can't handle the spice anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm having to readjust what I like in my Mexican food, and I don't like it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Love red sauce, and I just can't eat it anymore.
Yes. Oh gosh.
We have Judgment as our last, or not last card, second to last card.
Hmm.
It symbolizes rebirth, judgment, and an inner calling. If you had to define, let me get settled in here. If you had to define your journey, like on a business card or a flyer, what would it say?
Oh wow. Um, to be continued. Like
That's a good one.
a work
Nobody's
in
ever said that
progress.
before. I love it.
Um, wow. I don't know, because here's the thing, like it's never over. It's just this, it's a continuation. And so, like, to be continued, I guess, is a good one. It was kind of a joke at first, but it's kind of real.
I'll accept
Um
that.
yeah.
That is a very good answer. It does say your life is constantly evolving, and that
Always.
tells me you've got
Yeah.
your whole life ahead of you.
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
of stagnating does not enter into your
No.
equation.
No, I can't give up. No. There's been
What's the
moments, of
most
course. We've all have those moments, but you know, you
uh,
can't. You just got to get up and keep going. So
yeah, I hate that when people say, "Oh, Bobby, you're so brave for living." Well, it's not bravery, bitch. What else am I gonna do?
it's
This is
survival.
it's just life. I get up and I live. I'm not being brave.
Yeah.
There's nothing brave about it.
Yeah. But your story is, it really does have bravery and courage written all over it. I mean, I know maybe to you, because you are humble and you talk about it and you're like, what? But,
it-
most of us did not
yeah,
come from that. So it's like, wow, like you,
I came from. I'm saving the good stuff for when I go on Ramon shows.
okay,
Behind when he does In Orbit.
that's cool.
Um, I'm going to lay it all out there really, but
Nice.
I did come from a place of addiction. I was a runaway.
Mm-hmm.
I was a car thief. I was a drug addict. I was that person you wouldn't let anywhere near your home or your family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in the 90s, I realized I looked in the mirror and I was like, God, you look like shit. Oh
Mm.
my God, you look like shit. And I'm not going to be young and in shape, and I'm not going to be that way. I'm not going to be able to get by on, and I hate to say it like this, but sex and ass. And I'm not going to be able to
Mhm.
get by like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
Yes.
have substance. Holy shit,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
pulled myself out of that lifestyle and, put myself through school and uh,
Mm.
got married, created a life, and became a real boy.
A real boy.
Um, a
Oh,
real boy.
Pinocchio.
Y- Your inner calling is to
Mhm.
help people.
Mhm.
I I do respect that. Do you think there's people out there that no, we've already touched on that really, who say they want help, but they're just not open to getting that help?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I call those people professional victims. They want everybody to recognize that they're hurting and they're a victim, but they don't want to do anything to help them out. And
Oh
the
yeah.
first person who says, "Here, this will end your
Mhm.
suffering," they're like, "Get the fuck away!" Oh, poor me.
Yeah. Oh
You know,
yeah. Yeah.
I don't like that. Let's go on to our last card. We've reached the end of our journey. The World card and represents completion, achievement, and fulfillment. One of the best things I love about this card is the Hebrew letter is Tav. It means stamp, mark, boom, complete. Okay, this
Mhm.
marks the end of the journey.
Yes.
Um, you said your journey is always evolving.
Mhm.
Um, what is the world card to you? To me, the world card isn't just completion, achievement, fulfillment. It represents Saturn, and
Mm.
Saturn is associated with the third sphere of the tree of life, Binah, the mother sphere. Okay, so when I hear Saturn, I think of pulling the energy in and creating life. All right.
Mm.
What are your hopes for the future as far as um, I don't even know where that was going. It's like I've got three thoughts in my head right there. Hold on.
It's okay. I have people talking in the background here, so I'm probably equally as like But you asked me what I think the world card means to me. Um
Yeah, let's go that way.
uh well, it's definitely an ending to one thing and a beginning of another. It's a continuation, of course, you know of this thing we call life. you know. Um ooh,
What you were saying. I pull cards throughout when I'm having trouble formulating my thoughts. I don't like to have brief questions because
that's
every
okay.
interview is different.
Yeah,
Um, for this one, my new Oracle deck, my Halloween Oracle, I love it.
that's a
This
good
is
one.
the underworld, uh, where all things pause and begin again.
Hmm.
Okay, which is perfect for this card because this is the end of the cycle, the pause, and the beginning again. What is next on your list of accomplishments?
Yeah. Um I'll just be honest with you right now. I don't have anything grand in store because I'm focusing on my own health. Um, so uh, short term, it's just it's day by day. It's taking things one step at a time. I've come so far. Like this situation that I told you with work, it happened back in June, and so I've come a long way since June. A long, long way since June, and it's
Oh,
just
wait, this only just happened in June?
yeah.
You're still raw. Oh,
Yeah,
I wasn't aware it was that
yeah,
recent.
yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
but no. Like I said, it's new to me, so I was just kind of trying to figure out like, okay, where did this come from? Like, how did this happen? And so it's me, Virgo analyzing everything. Like, how could I let this happen? Um, but also accepting that, okay, here I am. This is what and so how do I get out of this? Like, what do I do? Is this something that has happened to me now that I'm going to have to live with forever, or is it something temporarily, like a situational depression? Like, what's happening here? And so I'm still working with my doctor on that, and
right.
I really do feel it's situational because I've made such huge progress just from removing myself from the environment of which it was happening. Because I yeah, I normally I don't have anxiety. I don't usually have depression. So it really did hit me out of nowhere. And so for now, what I'm focusing on is just continuing to work through that. And like I said, I've made huge progress, and yeah, so I'm just going to continue to do that. But in terms of long term achievement and what I would like to do is I really want to grow my YouTube channel. I really want to create like an online business of some sort. I mean, I do read for people, but I will admit I don't really put myself out there. I don't have a website. I don't, really
Right.
advertise myself. And a lot of people have said to me, even people I've read for, why don't you, why don't you say that you do this? I'm like, well, it's kind of, on my about section of YouTube, and they're like, it's hidden, like in the fine print. Like, why don't you put yourself out there more? And so, I definitely would like to do that. Because I feel like, well, obviously I'm being called to do something different, and this is definitely one aspect of it that I would like to do. So, and then from there, who knows what it'll branch off into.
By the way, I do want to say I took your advice and I did remember to change my work info on my YouTube page.
I just,
So
the only
I,
reason I noticed it yesterday, Bobby, was because you were on, and sometimes I like to go and grab links, like if you have like a PayPal to donate. I thought maybe somebody would donate to you
yeah,
last night for reading, but I didn't see any donation links. I thought, oh, what's this one? I'm like, oh no, not this one. He told us not to
yeah.
post this one, so I just mentioned it.
Yeah,
So,
I went back in and took it out finally, because I couldn't do it on my phone is the thing. I had
oh
to use my
yeah,
computer and I was like, I know I put it on there. Where is
mm,
it? And I was going through and it just made a mess. I finally found it. I broke out the laptop and did it.
yeah. YouTube is weird
Um,
behind the scenes on a computer and a phone. It's totally different the way it
yeah,
looks. Yeah.
it didn't
Mhm.
hit me, and it finally like that thought crept in the back of my head, like, did you try this? Gosh. Anyway, Ans, that brings us to the end of our journey. I'm not going to ask
Mm,
you to stay and read cards because we've been on for almost 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Yeah.
I am going to open up the floor though, real quick. And
Yeah.
while we chat, if anybody has a question or comment for Ange, please join up. And
Mhm.
speaking of growing channels, if you aren't, and I believe everybody in here is already subscribed to you, but if you're not and you're watching on replay, please subscribe to Ange's channel. If I haven't, I will put it in the links section in the description. Um,
Thank you.
eh, Karen says, Ange, I believe you're offering to help me around the
Mhm.
time of sending me. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
were going through this and still trying to help people.
yeah. So here's the thing though, like it has helped me, and that's just who I am. Like y- and that any time in life, not just this one situation I'm going through, but I just find healing in helping others. Like, even when I'm going through my own stuff, and maybe even especially when I'm going through my own stuff, because then maybe I can relate more. And, trust me, I've sat with this and went, okay, you're experiencing this because now you can relate more to someone who, never are two situations the same. I'm never going to come out here and say, "Oh, now I'm an expert on depression. I've been there, I've done that." Not like that. But I can definitely relate more to maybe some symptoms that they've had, or maybe how they felt with a diagnosis of sitting in front of your doctor looking at you saying, "No, you are actually, severely depressed." And I'm like, "Really?" Like, and it's so weird to me
How did
because
you handle that news when it was
I didn't
confirmed?
really want to believe it at first, because I thought, well, because like as you see me now, like, yeah, this is what depression looks like, but it doesn't always need to be crying huddled in a corner, although sometimes it is.
Right.
But um I just was like, are you sure? And this is a doctor that's been around. Like, she's an amazing doctor. And she's like, listen, I know it's hard to believe because you don't have any mental illness. You've never had to deal with this. And she knows my background too. And she's like, look, it's time that you need to go from being the caregiver to being cared for. You know, it's hard to make that transition when you're the one that's always caring for people, reaching out to people, offering help to people, and then suddenly
Yeah.
when you need to be the one to receive the healing, you're like, oh, okay. So that part has been a little bit tricky, but I've learned to accept it. And just and even my doctor herself, like, she even put herself out on the line to say this. There was a survey that went out recently to people, okay? And it was like
Hmm.
this. It was like, if you knew that your primary caregiver suffered from a mental illness but is being properly treated for it, would you still see that doctor? And an amazing amount of people responded with no. Okay. And she's talking like over 88% of people said no. No, if I knew my doctor
Uh-uh.
was, I wouldn't. And which is really sad, because the truth is there that's what's happening. Because if, especially those of us in the medical field, let me tell you, we go through a lot of trauma and stuff in terms of that. And so it's understandable that we would be more stressed out emotionally. Um, and she looked right at me and she goes, I'm here to tell you, I know what you're going through because I also live with depression. And I was like, what? Like, what? Wow. And so that just opened up this whole nother level of trust with her. Like, wow. First of all, she didn't have to admit that to me. That's a really personal thing that I could really judge her for. And of course I'm not, but I was just like, oh, holy cow. And so it allowed me to open up more to her and share more things, and her sharing things with me of what she does, and maybe it would help me. And so yeah, so at first, like you said, what how
That's
did I
fine.
react? I was hesitant because I'm like, this can't be happening to me. This isn't a face of depression, but it is. So it's taken some time to come to terms with it, to accept it, and to work through it, and to understand that it's okay. It's okay. And at first, I didn't know if I was ever going to openly talk about it, because I'm like, okay, well, people are going to judge me. And, I know the stigma of mental health because I work in it. I understand what people do and say about you.
Right.
And especially, I would say, to add another layer to this, in the spiritual world of things and reading, like, are people going to be like, oh, I'm not going to get a reading from her, she's depressed? You know what I mean? And it's like, but that's not, it's just these
Here's the
thoughts that
thing.
come to your
I'll
mind,
be
right?
honest with you, and I've been honest online in the past. When I met my husband, we've been together 25 years almost, and I went into the broom closet, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And his family, I basically hid who I was when I was around his family, and that was fine when we didn't live near each other.
Mm-hmm.
But now, when we moved here into the same area, we're 6 minutes away from them, and I love it. But they don't know anything about this. They don't know that I do witchcraft. They don't know that I teach witchcraft. They don't know I teach tarot. They don't know that I have a website coming out that's going to be international. They don't know any of this stuff, right? Because it would just break their minds, I think. Um, they're going to find out sooner or later. And it's just, I don't know where I was going with this, but oh, I remember,
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I remember. Um, it diverged, but my main goal was I started off healing, was where I was going with this.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem going to somebody who has depression. I never have. I've suffered depression my whole life, and that depression was mainly because I was trying to hide who I was and
Hmm.
what I could do. I was trying to put my light under the proverbial bushel and
Yeah.
act like I was a muggle, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I let people change who I was and
Hmm.
how I related to the universe. I thought, well, I can keep my stuff to myself and worship in secret, and I could do some. But it, when you're a strong empath, you know that it just leaks out if you don't use it.
Hmm.
It'll find a way to leak out into the world, and that can sometimes cause you mental problems and
Yeah.
confusion and depression. And yeah, I've been 5150 a couple times throughout my life because I was trying
Hmm.
to be something I wasn't.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the day I told my husband I'm not doing this anymore, it's driving me crazy. I'm, this is who I am. This is it.
Yeah.
Either buckle up, buttercup, or get off the ride.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
and to his credit, he has been very supportive. When I left that shop that was on my
Hmm.
links page, I didn't know what I was going to do as far as working a place to work with.
Yeah.
And he says, "Why don't you just work out of the house? You can do your clients here." And I said, "You'd allow that? I don't want to overstep any bounds. This is our personal space." And he says, "No, it's what you do. It's what you are. So you might as well do it."
Hmm.
And I love that he has been supportive like that. And he's going through his own bout with depression because of his health.
Hmm.
But um, I'm being the light to help him through it as best I can. So,
Yes, of course.
is if there's any other, what does this say? I empathize with you, Bobby. I keep my family way out of it because they are Southern Baptist. So I
Mhm.
live at least an hour away.
Yeah.
An hour away. Lucky.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Perfect.
yeah.
Mm. Oh.
So, and I want to thank you. Please check out her channel.
Mhm.
I was going to ask you to do a trinket spread, it just for example, but if instead I would like to talk to you backstage and invite you to do readings with me, if we
Mhm.
can work something out. Are you down for that?
Sure. Yeah. Sounds
And
good.
I see that some of our friends are watching. I I'm going to ask somebody to join us. I'll make it a surprise. I'm not going to tell you who,
Okay.
and I'm not even going to tell them. I'll just say it's somebody in the room. Um, but yeah, does anybody have any final questions for Miss Ange?
Mm. Yeah, and
If
even if you're
not,
watching playback, just put them in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer anything that
absolutely,
you want to know
please
as well.
subscribe to her
Mm.
channel. Please show some love. And for now, we're going to go ahead and call it. And stick around. I'll see you backstage. And the rest of you
Okay.
guys, love you all. And I'll talk to you. Um,
Goodbye.